My name's Kristin Omberg, and I'm a chemist. I work on biological defense policy in the United States, which is a very complicated subject, and my team looks at ways to break it down and visualize it in ways that make it more understandable. Biodefense is the area that looks at how a biological threat, either naturally occurring or deliberate, might impact the United States. The largest example that we have had so far is in 2001, when some anthrax letters were mailed to various politicians and figures in the media. That was one of the most prominent biological attacks that we've seen in the United States. It's complicated because we don't want to emphasize only preparation for an attack that won't happen very often. We want to emphasize public health holistically and how we can bolster our public health system in the United States, how we can be more prepared whether we're looking at a biological attack or we're looking at an outbreak of a new disease. Several years ago, there was a report that came out asking for someone to collate the whole of biodefense policy because it had become very complicated in recent years. We think a lot about visualizing data in science. We think about taking the results of an experiment and trying to present them in a way that makes them easy to understand. There are several hundred parts of the United States Code that deal with how we respond to either a biological attack or an emerging disease or a public health crisis. We completed an effort where we digested 15,000 pages of text documents using an automated tool. We pulled those all out into individual paragraphs, and we searched them to find the ones that were relevant to biological defense in the United States. And out of 15,000 pages of documents, we found over 400 responsibilities that were assigned in those pages that were specific to just responding to a biological attack, preparing for or responding to a biological attack. And out of those 414 responsibilities, many of them were assigned to 2 federal agencies, 3 federal agencies, sometimes 4 federal agencies. What most surprised me about the data is how many responsibilities aren't assigned to a discrete federal entity. We think a lot about visualizing data in science. We think about taking the results of an experiment and trying to present them in a way that makes them easy to understand. So this was really an exercise in taking a different type of data, which was the law, and turning it into something where we could display it and ask specific questions as opposed to having to read it all and then figure it out on our own. As scientists, we take it for granted that we have databases and we have computers and we have tools to organize all the information we need. That doesn't really exist in the policy space. It's hard to take scientific principles and apply them to something as nebulous as policy, but it's been really rewarding to see how people respond to it and that people are really excited about putting a more rigorous framework of visualization around something that traditionally hasn't been thought of that way.